Welcome to What's Important to You, the podcast where we explore purpose, passion, and the moments that truly matter. I'm James Dean, and each week I sit down with inspiring guests to uncover what drives them, inspires them, and what's important to them. What if one small act of kindness could completely change the direction of your life and go on to impact hundreds of thousands of others? In this episode, we explore compassion, purpose, community, and the power of human connection. We talk about how pain can shape us, how helping others can heal something within ourselves, and why meaningful change often begins with the simplest actions. From handing out sandwiches in New York City to building a nationwide movement supporting families experiencing homelessness, this story is about persistence, empathy, and hope. Today, we find out what's important to Karen Olson. Hi, Karen. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Delighted to be here, James. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, you're welcome. Really looking forward to this chat. So we'll dive straight in. So, Karen, the first question is, what's important to you?
That can change over time, but I would say certainly my family and my children, but also to reach out to people in need, to help in whatever way I can. That's been a theme of my life.
Mm.
And I think it not only helps people, but it helps me as well.
And what was it, because the amount of work that you've done over the years to helping people, what was it that initially, was it always something in you that wanting to help other people, or what was it that drew you to that space?
Well, I think it was the death of my mother, the sudden tragic death of my mother. She committed suicide when I was just 12. And I went from happy-go-lucky childhood to, from happy-go-lucky childhood to wanting to reach out to others after her death. Her death left a hole in my heart. And the only way I thought I could fill that was I knew what hurt was. And so when I saw others hurting, I wanted to reach out and help. And so that's been a theme of my life. Yeah.
From that moment, yeah, it's incredible sometimes how the moments in our lives we don't know how it's going to shape us until it happens, even if it's something obviously as tragic as that. So take me then from obviously what you've done over the years, and specifically in the work you've been doing. How did that start? How did you get into the work that you do, or you've done over the years?
Well, it started off slowly. Wanted to help people, and I wanted to be a nurse, but my stepmother said, you'll never make a good nurse. I was a nurse. And so she persuaded my father not to send me to nursing school. So just like that dream was shattered, but it didn't stop me from caring and wanting to reach out. And so I began reaching out in various ways, volunteering at a hospital, volunteering at a kids camp to help them. So I had to change my career path, and I changed it to business administration. Got a degree in business administration. And I was doing well. I was successful. I was making good contacts, doing everything that I should do. But it was empty. I didn't feel fulfilled. My job was developing sweepstakes and couponing events for products like Schick razors and Lister Mint mouthwash. So while I enjoyed the creative nature of that and working with my colleagues, it was empty. I didn't feel fulfilled. And then one day fate intervened. I was walking to a meeting in New York City, and I was about to pass a homeless woman who I had seen maybe, 20 times before. And I just would pass by her. She sat on a crate. She looked down. She looked depressed. And this particular day, I felt I just couldn't walk by her. So I ran across the street and I got her a sandwich and an orange juice. And I brought it back to her. And she said, "Thank you. God bless you." haven't eaten anything since yesterday. And she raised her hand to mine, and I took her callous hand at mine. At that point, I crossed an invisible line because my grandmother has always told me, don't, reach out to homeless people. They're bums, they're derelicts. Some are dangerous. So I went against what my family was saying because all I saw was somebody who was really hurting. And so I reached out to her and gave her the sandwich. And she said, thank you. God bless you. Haven't eaten since yesterday. And we held hands for a bit. And it was just that, really, that I crossed an invisible line where I met someone who was homeless and I was going to help her. So,
Yeah. Again, a very powerful moment again.
yes, definitely. So after I met Millie, I told my sons about Millie. And, kids have an open heart, And so they said, Mom, let's go into New York and find more people like Millie. So we did. And we learned that many people who were suffering from homelessness congregated in the Port Authority bus terminal. So we went there with 75 sandwiches and we met people sitting on a bench. This was on a Sunday evening. Anybody was sitting on a bench was not waiting for their bus. They were simply homeless. Yeah. So we got to know people by name like Arthur, Susie, Abe, Ed, and they were people to us. Lucille she said had been a first grade teacher, and she, whether that was true or not, I don't know, but she would tell my sons, you study hard, you don't want to end up homeless like me. And then Arthur, a World War II veteran, said he told my sons war stories, and that really captivated them. So these are people on the sidelines of life that were, ignored, but we just couldn't ignore them. Unfortunately, my sons liked the idea of going into New York. Well, my older son, not so much after a while, but my younger son did. People in the neighborhood thought we were maybe a little crazy doing that, but it seemed like the natural thing to do. I mean, these are people that are really hurting, lonely, don't have enough food. And how can you not pass them by? So they got to know us and would look for us on Sundays. So, and there was Arthur, who was a World War II veteran, and he had medals in the inside of his jacket. And he would tell the boys war stories. And Lucille, who claimed to be a first grade teacher, said, you study hard, don't end up in homeless like me. So these were people we got to know by name.
Yeah. And do you mind me asking, when was this? What can you remember?
This was in the early 80s,
Early 80s,
80,
yeah.
81 to 84.
Right. Wow. And what then made you become, where did it then change from you just going in and helping them with sandwiches to actually then creating, that became what it became in a sense of the institution, that all the volunteers? How did it get to the point where it grew so much that you were helping so much more than just the people in the Port Authority bus station?
Yeah. Well, at some point I said to myself, what's happening in New Jersey?
Yeah.
And so we went to Elizabeth and we volunteered. And there we met families who were homeless with children,
Mm,
some living in their cars, some living in shelters when they could get a bed in their shelter, but very much in need. And so we got to know them. And at the time, I learned that family homelessness was the fastest growing segment of the homeless population.
mm,
And so that motivated me to do something more. So I planned a conference on family homelessness. And I invited the religious community and the community at large. Remember, I ran around giving flyers out and posting the hopes that people would come to this conference. And they did. We were expecting about 100, and 200 people showed up. And right there, that gave me confidence that compassion is alive and well. And people do want to help, you know.
Mm.
So the conference was a great success.
Yeah. And I'm trying, because it's obviously you've been doing this since 1980s, and
Yes.
regrettably, the homelessness, I'd say in the US, and I'm here in Ireland, it's arguably still getting worse in some ways.
Yes. Yes.
Do you, despite all the efforts you've made, are you still optimistic that we continue to help these people?
Well, I'm optimistic. I don't know if we're going to solve the issue of
Sure.
homelessness, but people are
Yeah.
hurting. And so I focus on the people, you know,
Yeah.
and in communities, when people gather around, they find solutions. So I got to look
Mm,
at what they can do in the
mm,
lives that they are
yeah.
changing. Yeah, that's the most important thing. And they are with Family Promise. The connection is the volunteers working with the families, and the volunteers, their role is to prepare meals, stay overnight, play with the children, and that's about it.
Mm,
What I found is, what I found is that they get so much more involved. So when I decided to work in New Jersey, I wanted people to care and make a difference. So I planned this conference on family homelessness. And as I said, 200 people
mm,
came. And that day I knew compassion was alive and well. So we first looked for a building, and we couldn't find a building for shelter. There were too many roadblocks and red tape. So we
mm,
decided, what if we all worked alone? What could we do? So churches and synagogues agreed to provide space within their buildings for families. And that made all the difference. And volunteers really came out of the woodwork to help. And Auto Land discounted a van. The Y provided
okay.
space for a day center. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it all came together organically.
Yes.
I was very positive and passionate about what was happening, but I also had a plan, and I was persistent. That's what I usually say to people. If they want to start something, some good works, you have to have the passion to
Mm,
drive it, but you also have to have a plan. Without a
mm,
plan, you're not going to go anywhere. And then you have to be persistent because, there's going to be a lot of setbacks and naysayers. I really had a lot of people come up and say, this will never work. Don't do it. I don't, we don't want our church involved in such a thing. They were few and far between. So it
yeah.
grew, this simple model that was replicable, um, made such a difference in the lives of families. It's the contact with the volunteers. One volunteer, in addition to providing the meals and so on, might donate a car or pay for the tuition for a child to go to daycare or a day
Mm,
camp. So it's a human connection, really. It's so vital and important.
yeah. I'd say when you were talking there, I was just thinking that the people that you're trying to help who are in those such tough situations are in so much pain. As much as the sort of getting a meal, finding shelter, is there also an element of them just wanting to be able to connect with someone, talk to someone, have someone talk to them like a person. Do you know how that
Yes, yes,
humanity that having so there's a volunteer. It's not just the getting of the things that's keeping them alive and safe. It's having someone talk to them like another human, isn't it?
yes. Somebody who really cares. That's
Yes.
true. Yeah. You know, they
Yeah.
don't look at the volunteers as strangers, but people
Mm,
who care. You know, the volunteers play with their kids. They bring their
mm,
own kids to play. And so it
mm.
becomes a family environment.
Yeah.
And they really do
It's
care because that
yeah.
extra, you know, just providing shelter or just providing food isn't
Mm,
enough. I mean,
mm.
it's better than nothing, but
Yes.
the human connection is
Yeah.
so critical.
Absolutely. It's, the other thing I was thinking there was you got that to try and create that connection for those people. And what those volunteers are doing is trying to build those connections. When you said you had an idea, a plan, was there a way then to try and was it just to try and help the people, or was it to try and help them out of homelessness, or what was the sort of
No, that's
was there a
always it's always
yeah,
our goal to help them out of
yeah,
homelessness
okay,
because many shelters have a limited stay, like 30
yeah,
days, and you're out no matter if you're close to
yes,
finding housing or not. But our goal was to help them get out of homelessness.
mm,
And about that first year, 70% did. They were
wow,
able to find housing. And that's remarkable. What's more remarkable is many of the volunteers continue to be in touch with the families.
yeah, that is that's go ahead,
Yeah, not only that, they went on to create other programs like transitional housing, where you can stay for a longer time. You
yeah,
know, the thing is, the volunteers said it's fine finding the shelter and the meals, but we want to do more. And so
mm,
many programs have grown out of Family Promise, like
mm,
our donation program. It's called Wheels to Work. And pets who come into, you know, when a family is homeless, they often don't want to come into shelter because they don't want to lose their pets. And so some of our affiliates were motivated to develop a program for the pets so families didn't have to lose their pets. So that's a great program. Others are, you know, nutritional programs
mm,
where they provide the meals and they talk about the elements in the nutrition. So they go a long ways. Some have even created housing, affordable housing for families. So they go above and beyond.
mm. That was the thing I was going to say there when you were talking. What's obviously incredible, you always had to say you say the naysayers, even initially from me, people in your family thinking,
Yeah.
"Don't go into this space," or "Don't talk to these people." But what's quite incredible, once you started to talk about it and get people involved, the amount of people that would volunteer, that would donate, that are willing to help. So it's the whole thing of once you ask the question,
Yeah.
people will, the right people, I suppose, will show up, won't they?
Yes, that's so true. Yeah. I mean, when I started, you know, I was doing this singularly, going into New
Yeah,
York with sandwiches and with my sons. But then when we formed the family program through Family Promise, we asked
yeah.
people to get involved and they wanted to because they saw a safe way to provide help
Mm,
to families in a home-like environment. And they did, they got very involved. In the beginning, we had almost too many volunteers.
mm,
Yeah. And so, yeah, but it's amazing the compassion. That was probably the main thing that kept me going is I saw how much people wanted to help. Like
mm,
one woman, Anita Nielsen, she invited Arthur, the World War II veteran from New York
mm,
City, into her house and he stayed for like 5 days. So Anita and her husband, Bill, really cared for any of the people that came. So it makes a big difference.
Absolutely. And so tell me more about then the scale of, of where it got to, in a sense of
Yeah.
the organization that you created. How, from starting with just yourself and those volunteers, tell me the scale that you've got to.
And from the conference, people wanted to get involved. And so they did. The nearby counties like Morris County, excuse me
No
a
problem.
minute,
No problem.
Morris County, Terry Rahal said, we'd like to start something like this in Morris County. So I helped him. And so we now had a second program in Morris County and then Essex County, the other county nearby. And it grew like that. And people kept coming to me, how do we start here and there? So then that's when I provided the structure to help them start the program. And today we've helped more than 1 million men, women, and children over the past 30 years. And we have close to 200 affiliates, meaning 200 programs like our program in Union County. Yeah, we're in 43 states. So what's heartening to me is people were asking, how do we start this? How do we do it? It meant that so many people cared. And that makes such a difference. Each program, each of the 200 programs are a little different, but it's the same common denominator. Many volunteers involved in making a difference, not just with shelter and food, but sometimes litter. Excuse me.
No problem.
Sorry, I have a scratchy throat.
You're fine. No problem at all.
So many people got involved, and then they
Yeah.
created additional programs, literacy, daycare,
Yeah.
tutoring programs. Just, it's once they overcame the idea of who are the homeless. They met them, they liked what they were doing, they saw other needs. So on their own, they were motivated to do more.
Yeah. You get some more water. No, you're fine. So, because that's the interesting piece from, you say, the growth of, again, how it expands, because people hear from what the neighboring county is doing, and they think, oh, we want to do something here, and it spreads
Right.
the initial. But it's when then the volunteers within those programs or those spaces, they realize, as you say, they see another requirement or another need or something else that can help those people, and they take it from their own idea of fruition to go, actually,
Yes.
we could add another layer here. We can go, actually, we can give them, say, whether it be education, whether it be nutrition. So it's again, it's that thing of, once you allow people from what you did, allow people to think it's okay to do this, it's okay to help.
Yes.
It's amazing once you allow people to almost get out of their own way, isn't it?
We broke the ice and they came forward.
Yes.
And then they
Yeah.
wanted to do more and more. So
Yeah.
different programs evolved,
Yeah.
which is really something.
I was going to say, how, when people will almost, when it was coming back to you that the people are trying to doing more on top of, and they're doing extras, how did that make you feel?
Really, really good because it was
Yeah.
more solutions for families.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
it was really something because they're
Yeah.
compassionate people all over. And now they met homeless families and they thought, oh, there are people who are experiencing homelessness beyond those that we see on the street, it's usually the single men. And so they were
Mm,
very motivated to do more. It was a
mm,
really beautiful thing.
absolutely. And I was looking before, obviously, I came to chat to you. that you now I don't know how long I didn't uh I don't I try not to go into too much research because I want to try and have the conversation with you. But I know you have in the book. Is it kind of an autobiography or is it about your experience? Tell me about the book
I wrote a
that you wrote.
book called Meant for More,
Yeah.
Following Your Heart and Finding Your Purpose. It's right
Yeah.
here. Um, it's a little bit about a biography about
Yeah.
me, but there's also stories about other people in the book.
Hey.
But I wrote it hoping that people could identify with that feeling within themselves that they should do more, they want to do more, and that they can
Mm.
act on it. So that's primarily the purpose of the
Yeah,
book.
absolutely. Well, it goes back to to one of the first things you said there, Karen, about that you went into the job in business, maybe directed into it, as you say,
Yeah.
like, and you say, and again, successful at it. You know what I mean? But that word that you said, without fulfillment, and it's a common thing that I hear. It's something that I experienced myself, the same way that I was in a career within financial services, again, arguably successful and becoming more successful, but not that same sort of feeling that actually, if I was really honest, I didn't care about it. And there's so many people, I think, that have, as you say, an energy, a drive, a willingness, a work ethic, whatever you want to call it, but they're putting all of that effort and energy into something that they really don't care about. And so is the book trying to help those people kind of guide them towards something that's has more meaning?
Yes, in some ways it is, but it may mean just volunteering on the
Yes.
weekend or it doesn't have to
Yeah.
become your full-time job. And others resonate with what got me involved, which was the death of my mother. As horrible as that was, pain has a silver lining. And
Mm,
within that was a gift of wanting to reach out to others and make a difference.
mm.
So, yeah.
Yeah. That's a really actually, I'm glad you said it's a really valid point because sometimes when you said about it could be something getting involved in, say, volunteering at the weekend, it's something that you're doing in addition versus thinking, oh, I have to change my entire life. Because
No.
sometimes we can get caught up in that. And I do
Yeah.
this myself. You get caught up in this or that. Has to be one or the other
No.
versus, well, actually,
Just
you
a
could do
little
it.
bit and see
Yeah.
where it takes you. It may take you no further than that, but just do a
Yes.
little bit. And there's a need all around you. For instance, the other day, I was with a couple of friends and we were in the mall and we passed by this man who was handicapped in some way and he was not coordinated, but he was selling some things, a little whistle and um, wipes. And
Mm,
so I said, let's stop, so we did. We talked to him for about 20 minutes and it, lifted him up that we cared. And of course, we bought the whistle that he was selling and we also bought the wipes, but we brightened his day for that little bit. He was living with his parents and he would take an Uber to the mall and then an Uber back. But a lot of people would pass by that man. I never liked to because I can't help it. I want to see if I can help in any way. And my friends felt the same way. And so we did. And I hope we brightened his day. So it doesn't have to be a big, cause or starting a
mm.
big program. There's a need all around you, pick up the newspapers and your friends, your neighbor's porch that are piling up because they're away,
Yeah.
lots of
Yeah.
different things you can do. And you feel good about it when you do those good deeds. Not only does the recipient feel good, hopefully,
Yeah.
but the giver does as well, most definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. It's that the accumulation of doing lots of small positive things, isn't it?
Mhm.
If
Yeah.
everyone did one little bit for someone else,
Yeah.
how much better everything would be, isn't it?
Yeah. If they did it just once a week. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It'll make a
And
big difference.
absolutely. And I just want to other question about the book that you wrote and you have out there on purpose. What was it like writing the book? I wonder your experience of what was it like putting things down on paper?
It was difficult at times, and other
Mm,
times it flowed. But I had help too from some writers. I don't consider myself a very good writer, but I had some help. And I felt really good about it when the book was done. And it
yeah.
was very well received. When we had the book launch, there were like 100 people there, and they all bought books. But it's not about the sales per se, it's a
No.
message within the book. Yeah.
Yeah.
It did feel like I feel good that I have it all down,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
still selling the books and benefiting people and my grandchildren as well. I'm glad I wrote the book because they have that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually talking to it's a slight side tangent. I was actually talking to a lady yesterday doing another recording, and she's actually a book publisher here in Ireland and an independent book publisher. And she fell into the career. She told the story of how she was like writing a story for her children. And then the children liked it so much. She was making up stories and they said, oh, we want it write it so we can have it. And it made them making them a book. And then children, like as children do, told the school kids, their friends. And so it suddenly from this writing a book for her children, she's now publishing books. But one of the points I was coming to is she's then capturing one of the reasons why she does this now, and 12 years later she's doing is the importance, she said, of capturing stories and history as we're going along. The importance of, putting some wisdom down on paper. So it was the first time we've met, but obviously just in the short conversation so far, I'm so glad that you wrote the book.
Yes, me too.
Because do you know what I mean? Because it's capturing some of the stories that you have, not to say for yourself personally, for your children, your grandchildren, but then it. This is the question I'd like to ask you next. Then, can you even begin to think about the person that's never met you who reads your book and then it has an impact? It inspires them. Can you even
Yeah.
contemplate what that means?
I hope what that means is that they are more in touch with themselves and the part of
Mm,
themselves that wants to make a difference, and then they're encouraged by my story.
yeah,
I started by just giving out sandwiches to people, and then I formed the organization, and now speaking at public events along with the book that people can buy. So it's definitely a
yeah,
continuation, what I would call
yeah,
my ministry. Yeah.
yes. And
Yes.
and when you said like, is there a sort of you said about the message of it was more about the message from the book. Obviously, I would encouraging people obviously to read it and to themselves. But is there sort of one message you think from the book or from yourself that you want to pass on to people? What's the one message you would want to share?
That you can make a difference in the lives of others. Don't hold
Yeah,
back. Start where you are with simple things and it can grow or not, but start where you are. You don't have to volunteer with an organization, although that would be fine, but just start where you are. Look around and see what the needs are in your community and help. And then it becomes contagious because it feels
yeah,
so good to make a difference
yeah,
that you want to keep continuing.
yeah.
So
Absolutely.
I would hope that
Yeah,
it would inspire people to want to make a difference.
yeah, and absolutely. No, I mean, considering the, did you? I suppose that's the next question I have is then when you started, did you ever think that did you ever go into it thinking this is going to be essentially the rest of my life that I'll be doing this?
No, if I did, I wouldn't start. Yeah. No, but it makes sense because I haven't changed who I am. I'm
Yeah.
caring and I want to help. And fortunately,
Yes.
so to others, so it grew,
Yes.
grew a white peel.
Yeah. Yeah. Almost the fact that i- went in just almost on instinct, not thinking this is going to be something, that it became what
Yeah.
it became without trying to come up with the grand plan at the start. It probably wouldn't ever have worked if you had thought of it that it would grow to the way it did. It probably almost would have been too big. But as you say, it started with just trying to hand out some
Take
sandwiches.
one step at a time and it grew.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that, it was a very happy time. But then I had a small condo in Miami Beach that I'd like to go to and relax. And so in 2019, I went to that condo relaxing and by the pool. It was February 12th, 2000. I'm a good swimmer, so I like being in Miami Beach, near the ocean. But I was waiting for an appointment for my cryotherapy. Do you know what cryotherapy is? No, okay. I'm sure you have it in the UK, but it's not all that popular. But it's when you go into this chamber, this cylinder, this chamber, and it gets very, very cold, and there's an attendant with you. So I went to the desk, and I had done this about 30 times, both in Miami Beach as well as Summit, New Jersey, where I lived at the time. But then they said, you'll have a new attendant. She's been working only for 4 weeks, but she's been well trained. I thought, okay, because I've never had a problem with it.
Hmm.
But when she escorted me into the chamber, I stood there and then all of a sudden it got very, very cold, extremely cold, beyond any session that I had experienced. And then I must have blacked out because I don't remember everything. But she said I was saying, I'm cold, I'm cold, I'm so cold. And so she came around to the door and she opened the door thinking I would walk out, but I was frozen like a popsicle. And I fell and I hit my head on a raised ledge. And of course, the head started bleeding and I couldn't feel anything from my neck down. And, in that moment, I thought, why? Why is this happening? But I called my two sons, Doug and Brad, and they came down immediately. Brad ended up staying in the hospital with me for 30 days, lying next to my bed, which was a big comfort for me. But he later said it was the hardest thing he ever did. And he would take breaks where he would go out and cry and talk to his
Hmm.
wife. But I finally healed. I had a spinal cord injury, but it's called incomplete. And incomplete is actually good because it means that the spinal cord is not severed, it's just bruised, which was the case with me. So that was 7 years ago. And I don't have pain now. There's certain things that I can't do. I'm in a wheelchair.
Hmm.
But I'm learning to walk with a certain kind of walker
Hmm.
and with the help of my therapist. But it's been a big change for me. But it has and it hasn't. On the one hand, I've settled in to myself and I'm able to reflect more about life and so on
Hmm.
because I'm not running madly around like I was when I was walking. It was
Hmm.
the next thing and the next thing, the next thing. But now I can contemplate how life is good and the changes it's made in me. So that was, a shock to have that accident,
Hmm.
but I'm very happy. I have wonderful aides and I have an assistant, Jen, and it feels like an extended family. So
Mm.
I feel quite good, and I go on speaking engagements in my wheelchair.
Yeah. It's well, thank you for sharing that story, Karen, because again it's a testament obviously to yourself in that your outlook on life in the sense of something that happened to you and the sort of obviously negative impact that it would have had that on you and how obviously scary and life changing or life altering it proved to be for yourself, but to still look for the positives, to still, even to look for the next things, the positive things out of it is
I mean,
obviously how you've lived your life has served you for these moments.
that's so true. It's so
You know
true.
what I mean? Yeah. And as much as you say it's now you'll give you more time for reflective, but it didn't stop you, hasn't completely stopped
No,
you what you're doing though. Yeah.
no, not at all. It's changed how I get around my mobility,
Sure.
but it
Sure.
hasn't changed at all who I
Yeah.
am.
Yes.
I feel quite happy
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
I do.
Absolutely. Which is incredible.
I'm
And
in blessed in so many ways with my
yeah,
family and my friends and my faith.
absolutely. Yeah. No, I was going to that was an interesting because you said that. It's like that's obviously plays a does that play a I'm gonna say, does it play a part in your life, your own faith?
Yes,
Yeah.
my own fate. Yeah. I never expected this, but it's
Yes.
okay. It's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I keep going
Yes.
and I
Yeah,
feel happy.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
I guess if I felt I could only be happy when I was able to walk, if I was
Mm,
waiting for that, then I wouldn't be so happy. But why
yes.
not be happy now? I'm not standing and walking, but I'm still Karen and life is really beautiful. So
Yeah. I
just
love
keep
that.
going.
Yeah, absolutely. So for the what you did with obviously the program you created to help people in homelessness. Is there this is going to be such an unfair question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Is there a thing that you're most proud of from all what you did or what you're doing still, I say?
Most proud of the many people I've been able to touch and how their
Mm,
lives have been changed. So it's not any one thing. It's the
mm,
power of, I guess you'd say, my broken heart that opens up
mm,
and I'm able to reach people when I
mm.
speak. So I'm most proud of, well, all the work and how I've been able to help to be a catalyst to change lives.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Incredible. Even just the way you said it there. Because again, it's like you said it earlier in the conversation that so much of it came from your sort of drive or motivation came from such tragic circumstances in the sense of your mother and
Yes.
how that is still the sort of taking your experience of that pain, but to turn it in a way that you want to relieve pain from others effectively is
Yeah.
quite an incredible thing to I'll be reflecting on that for a bit, I think,
Okay.
because it's the reason I say that because it is we the words of like purpose and passion and follow your passions are very much a thing that's are thrown around, shall we say now, in current
Uh,
language and discourse. But there's an element it could be just for the sake of it, for views, for people just, without substance. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's just a word unless there's something behind it. And so what I think is quite sort of incredible from yourself is the fact that you took something so painful and actually was like, no, I'm going to essentially you've dedicated your life to trying to relieve pain in others is quite incredible.
yeah, this is true. But it's the only
Yeah.
sense I can make out of it. It's
Yeah.
I don't say, "Oh, good, yay for me." It's just,
Yeah. Just it is.
I'm drawn to do that, and it makes me feel
Yeah.
good. Build
Yeah.
and create ways that can help can help people. You know,
Absolutely.
from the small,
Yeah.
giving a sandwich to someone, to building a whole organization.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Incredible.
never thought I can't do this.
Yes.
I just kept going, and there was a lot of resistance
Sure.
early on from people, even from clergy that didn't want me to do it. But I just kept going. It didn't really faze me.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. There's a few questions I like to ask everyone who
Okay.
comes on my show, Karen. So just to finish up. So first one is I'm one of those people, I do love quotes or phrases. I think they can be quite applicable in life. Are there any quotes or phrases that are important to you?
Also phrases. Well, from Nelson Mandela, it's in my book and it's in the introduction. There can be no greater gift than that of giving one's time and energy to help others without expecting anything in return.
Yeah.
That, I think, sums up
Yeah.
my life. Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah,
And I think, yeah, and it's the piece I love, and I've heard that one before from Nelson Mandela, and it's the piece at the end of that is this so important about it. It's the without expectation. It's
right.
the doing it because you know it's the right thing to do.
And not
It's
expecting anything in return.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. And being okay with that. That's
right.
that as you said the whole through conversation, the doing, the giving, the helping is the gift of the giver. So it's
Right.
that you are getting something back internally, but it's not that you're not getting this, that, yeah. It's a wonderful one. Thank you for that. My next question is, who have been the biggest influences in your life?
To one person,
Or anyone of multiple, whoever you think.
first my mother. Actually, when I read in her yearbook, she was voted most likely to help people because she was very, very generous and giving. But it's certainly her life and then her death that has
Mm,
impacted me. The
sure.
pain wanted me to reach out. And when she was alive, she was just caring and loving, and we were very close. So definitely my mother and her death. But then there's been two advocates for the homeless.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I can see that. It's been wonderful to talk to you, Karen, and meet you and
Well, it's
hear
been
just a
great talking with
small
you.
yeah. I have one final question for you, which is
Okay.
what's important for your future?
What's important for my future is to stay how I am, to continue to reach out to others, to show my love more openly, and just to be loving and helping and doing. So nothing different from how I am now, but more continuation of that. And I find that relatively easy to do because people are all around you and they need a kind word. So that's it, just sharing the love that I have in my heart and
Yeah,
helping people.
absolutely. Yeah, it's as I say, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you and to
Thank you, James.
hear some of your story. I'm going to make sure that people continue to, we hopefully will people listening to this and they'll continue to learn more about you and what you've done, what your organization's done. I will make sure that I have all the various links in the post and in the show notes of anyone who wants to learn more about the programs that Karen's organizations do, but more at Karen, about her book. All those links are going to be in the notes. And yeah, you can go there and check out all the things that
Thank you,
Karen is doing.
James.
So
I
you're
really
more than welcome.
appreciate that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Been a pleasure talking with you.
Yeah, you too. Absolutely. And yeah,
You're so authentic, and I love that in people when I meet
thank you.
people like that.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much. I appreciate that, and thank you. And January, obviously, the first time we met, but obviously, what you've done over the last 30 years and continue to do is incredibly inspiring. And long may it continue for what the people that
work with all the volunteers that they do. And I would say, hopefully with this conversation, more people will learn about what you've done and they can learn more about you as well. So thank you again for what you've
Very
done, but
good.
thank you for talking to me today.
Thank you, James.
Lovely.
Thanks for listening to What's Important to You. If you enjoyed this episode, follow or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And if it resonated, share it with someone who might need it too. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment or ask a question, and let's keep the conversation going. I'm James Dean, and I'll be back soon with another real conversation to help you reconnect with what truly matters. Until then, take care and stay curious.